Okay, can you hear me now? I just saw the comment that said we can't hear you. I think I was still connected to my wireless headphones. Very good. That is perfect though. I've been talking the whole time and nobody heard any of it. And that's kind of how it always works though. That is. Talk is cheap. All right, well, we let the bunny out. I let the bunny out. Penelope. She's been running in the bunny run this morning. Here you go. Want a carrot? Want a carrot? Happy bunny? Healthy bunny? If your bunny's not covered in dirt from time to time, they're not living. I'm gonna see if I can feed it a carrot. Come on, Penelope. You wanna eat a carrot? You know what? That's so funny. I think she's asleep. Rabbits can sleep with their eyes open. And after she's had a little time to dig in the bunny run, she just gets so mellow that I think she is currently asleep. Or else she would be munching on that rabbit. If a rabbit is not munching on a fresh carrot, by the way, these carrots are so good. The ones that I grow in the yard are so good that the bunnies just freak out over them. They love them. All right, let's see if I can pick her up. All right, okay. Now she's awake. Wanna try some carrot? No, I think I'm gonna put her back in the cage. All right, we'll let her have her carrots in the cage. Hey, girl. Want some? Can't believe you don't want some. Thumper, you're next for playtime, bud. First, though, give you a carrot to snack on. Are you gonna turn down the carrot? Guess so. It's odd. All right, Penelope, thanks. Beautiful morning. Holy moly. Yeah, so we fed the chickens a bunch of composted pineapple peelings. I dehydrated a pineapple a couple days ago, and I've already eaten the entire thing. It's one of the most delicious things I can possibly imagine eating. is a dried pineapple, and now we've got 6 pineapples growing over there in the vertical planter, the other side of the yard. And the new moringa trees are doing great. So yeah, here are the ones that I've planted over here by the chicken coop, all planted at different times, all planted in the ground at different times, and planted as seeds at different times. And this represents about 5 months of oh, thanks, CM. I greatly appreciate the compliment. I'm so stoked you are all on the stream with me. I enjoy this, the Sunday morning ritual. So, yeah, I'll tell you, over about 5 months, this one was the first one planted. That one is the second one. So this one might be about 3 months old. That one maybe about 5. And this one, a month or 2. So since I know that in moringa farms, they plant them close together, I realized, well, I'm going to try the foot apart planting. So these are roughly a foot apart and all doing really well. Now, if those sweet little chicky-doos were let out here, this is one of the first things they will come and immediately devour, which speaks to, how great they are, because they're just full of vitamins, of course. And we were looking at when I realized that my headphones are still connected. Man. We were looking at this grow table, and I had 100% germination rate on these moringas that I planted. 100%. So every single one of them grew. The Persian mulberry, of course, is doing very, very well. I'm super excited about that as well, because the fruit is so good. I finally got to taste some of the fruit off of the trees we've been growing, and it's far superior to the everbearing, in my opinion. You start putting crushed coral and shells in the compost every year, CM, and that costs 5 times more growth. Wow, that's cool. That's really cool. I'm not very far from a shell farm, so to speak. What do you do? You just wash them off to get the salt off, and what do you soak them, or what do you do to the shells to? I'm sure you do something to get the salt out of them. Like, I worry about that a little bit, but I don't think it's much of a concern. You just wash them off, I would guess. And I've also, how about this one? Oh, I should do a video on this, or try this for sure. Which would be using sargassum seaweed, however you pronounce it. No, just crush it and leave the salt. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, now where I encounter salt problems typically is on the leaves, right? Salty water on the leaves of plants, but very, very interesting. Wow, thanks for that. That's cool. But yeah, I'd like to use the seaweed as a compost to see if that's possible. I mean, there are just periods of time where there are thousands of tons of seaweed just resting on top of the beach and rotting, and it would be an easy resource to go collect and use as an organic booster in the yard. And I've also thought about maybe using the seaweed as a mulch, I'm going to visit my daughter today. I think I'm going to bring her a mulberry tree. I've got a nice mulberry tree I picked out. It's already got fruit on it. All right, so now the subject of the video, for heaven's sakes. By the way, another moringa application. These moringa trees are doing quite well. This is a good example of just going nuts for moringa, because I've got 2 of them that are growing that I planted from pot through a seed, just like the ones we looked at. Really good. And then I planted this one from seed like maybe a couple weeks ago. Another moringa. So you can see we are fixing to have mega moringa. And this is a very dry spot, in the afternoon, and you can see I'm not trying to keep it unweeded. Now, everything that I see before me here is an incredible crop of natural food for the chickens and the bunnies. But I've also got, I do have hot peppers Big Wave Dave. Thank you for asking. We'll go take a look. In fact, my neighbor on the other side of the fence is a hot pepper growing aficionado. Made a salsa out of the mangoes from my tree and his ghost peppers, I think they were. And that's the best hot sauce I've ever tasted in my entire life. Makes me want to go just have some right now. See that's the sunflower. That's the other thing, is that the sunflowers, I just keep planting them and planting them. Everything loves them. And they're so easy to grow. They're so beautiful. All right, I'd say let's harvest some of this purslane here. I just planted a bunch of the purslane seeds. I don't really see any sprouting yet, but this being an incredible succulent. And I don't like to kill the goose that laid the golden egg, so to speak. So when I pick this stuff around, I now see it as a precious resource. It's certainly the most sought after natural edible that I feed these chickens and bunnies. But as long as I don't pull the roots out, it'll keep producing more and more. Yeah, but I love this purslane. It actually tastes great too. All right, let's get one more. All right, that's a nice little bouquet of purslane. Yeah, water. You know what I finally realized was, if I am feeling kind of anxious, it's probably because I haven't drank enough water. Seems like the most common sense thing in the world, but for some reason it took me a while to figure that simple truth out. Especially out here working out in the yard. I mean, you are sweating buckets, just getting dehydrated so fast. Aw, look, they love me. They love me more if I say, "Yee chick chick." Ah, yes. My loyal subjects. King of the chickens. Now. Here you go. Oh. You like those? Make sure the less dominant birds get a beakful. Oh, Big Wave Dave, how did I get into gardening? Did my parents do it? That's a really cool question. Yeah, actually, so I grew up in a rural environment in New Jersey, of all places, which is, after all, the Garden State. But yeah, I grew up on a basically in a house that was built on top of a tomato field in between my grandparents' house and my aunts and uncle's house on the other side. It's about a 2-acre tomato field, and yeah, my mother actually built a house on it. So I was surrounded as a child by sprawling, just hundreds of acres of cornfields, wheat, soybeans. My grandfather, who's really the motivator when we say how'd I get into it, it was my grandfather for sure, who was a master of farming and was doing it right on top of the most incredibly fertile ground you could possibly imagine. I mean, soil that smells good, smells sweet and rich and minerally, almost smells like kale to get a handful of it and put it to your face. So that kind of environment, which produced vegetables that are just insane. So my grandfather had all manner of fruit trees, of vegetables, of, gosh, I mean, and also deciduous trees in the area, like things like maples and other kinds of interesting trees. So he was really into it. That totally rubbed off on me because I spent almost all my time, hanging around him. Also, it was a typical thing for me in the morning as a child, like, 8 years old, let's say, to get up during the summers and just throw on some shorts and run out the back door and go right into the garden, which is, corn, go get baby corn and eat that. I'd walk around and just eat tomatoes. I love, all the raw vegetables. So I love to just walk around in the garden in my bare feet and pick vegetables and eat them. And also, like when the wheat was coming in, I would eat the wheat, soybeans. I love to eat those. Everything out there, young asparagus, especially the younger vegetables. But so I grew up in that world, which gave me a really deep connection to growing stuff. And I immediately went to doing that as soon as I had my own land. And I don't have much land, and it's nothing like what my grandfather had, which is a sandy, his was a rich, but mine is certainly a very sandy environment. So I've got to add all that stuff to it, which has forced me to learn a lot about how that all occurs. So yeah, thanks for the question. That was interesting. It made me think about things I haven't thought about in a little while. Now, he had chickens. At one point he had, but he kind of got out of the phase of having chickens. But at one point we had a goat, we had sheep, we had horse. He even had a bull. You ever get treed by a bull? An angry bull? Well, I'm not trying to brag, but I have. And yeah, so it was and a sheep. Sheep, they'd come by and shear the sheep. So yeah, I would, the only thing keeping me from getting a goat is the law. Goats are so interesting. To me, they're like a dog-like livestock in a way. Goats are so cool. But definitely don't have enough land to do anything like that. I'll tell you, I'm pretty amazed, though, that I can even pull this off in a tiny little backyard area. It's pretty cool that chickens are being, more widely adopted in neighborhoods and stuff. And you can see this is like a pretty peaceful situation with these chickens. They're not making a lot of noise. You see there's not a lot of flies. There's not a lot. I mean, it's just a pretty low impact thing for you and even for the people around you. And bam, right away you've got 1,200 eggs a year capability for your family. So I think that's a pretty amazing accomplishment. Now, once I get my system 100% up, that was a strange sound, Ponzi. Oh no, that was Sally the Sea Monster. But once I get this yard up, fully functioning, with the production levels I want to get, one of the key principles of permaculture is, of course, obtain a yield. And so I'm working on that, and it's increasing dramatically. If we were to look at a graph, once these chickens are fully producing, the amount of food is going to be enough that I could sustain myself just on this food. Now, I don't plan to do that. I like cheesecake. I can make my own cheese, but I guess I need a cow. Yeah, but I'm thinking maybe I'll do a week or a month where maybe just a week, where I just eat out of my backyard only. I'd be interested in what you think of that idea. It's a novelty, kind of a stoic life experiment. You chickens think you're going to get some more treats? Yeah, you do. You do. So I'm going to be also expanding my sugarcane grove. Talked a bit about the moringa production increasing that I'm doing, and the mulberry tree increasing that I've been doing all over the yard, because those are two just producers of everything. Everything they produce is useful. And the next thing is the sugarcane. Is to start increasing the sugarcane production. Now, the rabbits love the sugarcane to eat it, but beyond that, I thought it'd be a useful thing to be able to produce a resource from the yard. I used to actually sell sugarcane cuttings on eBay, and did that for a while. It was fun. Got like 100% satisfied customers. It's kind of cool because if anybody, was like, oh, that, unhappy for any reason. Oh, you, hey, what's that all about? What's that all about? What's that? Yeah, just relax. So anyway, I'm going to start planting a lot more varieties of sugarcane. I have red, yellow, and green right now. I may get black and purple and some other varieties, but I thought that would be a cool area to get back into, sugar caning. Oh, you're the prettiest chicken with the ugliest voice. You should. Yeah. They're hungry. They make that sound when they think they're about to get a treat. All right, let's see. Let's do the continuing saga of Penelope. Goodbye, the chicken coop here. All right, now this grass is doing very, very well, but I'm growing it like hay for a reason. You'll see what I mean. This has all been fertilized with the bunnies, right? So it's very rich, very nutrient dense. This crabgrass is one of the favorite things, both for the rabbits and for the bunnies. I think we'll feed the chickens some more of this. Yep, and they'll eat it throughout the course of the day. Can you imagine how rich that area is going to be over time? These chickens constantly feeding right here. Yeah, and I think we're only probably a month or so away, maybe, from, I need to do the math, from realizing this bad boy. Phase 2 of the chicken coop experience. The nesting boxes. The egg production zone. The only part I didn't paint on the inside. By the way, I claim if you use good paint, you can paint the inside of your chicken coop and actually be able to clean it. So this is not an area I plan to allow them to poop in. That's why I'm not letting them in there. I've got this cage wire closing them out. Once they start to lay, it'll be 100% the laying of egg zone. And I'll put a couple golf balls or a couple porcelain eggs in there to let them know that's where eggs go. And they should be off and running. You just follow me around everywhere I go, because eventually, maybe you'll get what's on your mind. I know exactly what you're thinking of. Worms. Yeah, you want worms, I know. Pretty interesting. The pigeon peas along here are doing well. Here's another one. Okay, so here's the thing. Anywhere that's getting full sunlight, you would think it wouldn't. This is actually the south side of my lawn, so the sun would typically come in this way, but in the summer it's right overhead. I mean, it's crazy. So this area just gets cooked. And for next year, I want to be able to have growth growing over it. Now it's a little bit cagey here because we got this power line, but so I need to plant stuff that doesn't get nuts, like this like this mango tree. By the way, if you want to check out the mango tree trimming video, I almost killed myself trying to get these branches down. Don't recommend you do that. I'm going to get the tree guy from here on out. That was my life lesson. But anyhow, I want to have the plants growing over, but not creating a dangerous situation. So things like pigeon pea, mulberries, these are all good choices because I trim the heck out of them and then use those trimmings. But yeah, this pigeon pea has now reached over 6 feet tall. It's probably 7 feet tall. That's in a relatively low amount of time. Now that's going to produce a ton of pigeon peas, which are super high in protein. This is part of the whole deal where I'd be able to eat for a week from the yard. Eating stuff like this, staple foods, for sure, every day. And you want to have those just cranking in food. And then the mulberry, of course, but it's already starting to, and I kind of bend these branches over a bit as they grow up. I just take them, they're very young like this, and I curve them over with my hand. You know, not enough to break them, but you see how I do that? Now look, I almost went too far on that. That's all right. Yeah, they're pretty mild. You see, it stands right back up, but it's now a little bit more curved. So depending on where you want them to curve over, you just kind of, you know, just breaks a little bit of the fibers on the inside and forces the tree to deal with that, but it also then shapes it the way you want it. Like, look, I want this to be a tunnel. So to have it leaning over like this is exactly it. Now, if I don't do that, they're just going to grow up into a place where I can't use them. But this is the phase, meaning where I have to trim them off. They'll be too big to shape like this. But this is a phase in this tree's life where I want to start promoting it to lean this way, just for that whole shade effect. So I'll continue to do that as it gets bigger. But let's go take a look. Yeah, let's go take a look at the bananas, which was the subject of the video. If you stayed this long, I appreciate it very much. We had some audio problems at the beginning of this one. I need to have a checklist. Oh, listen to this first. But the banana relocation, the new banana grove I started prior to relocating my old bigger one where the chicken coop is now, are now going off. So here's what I did. Let's talk about bananas. This is the southern corner of my yard, so that's east, that's south, west, north. I don't want this to be completely shaded out, so I want to keep this low because in the summer, this is the area I do want to have adequate sun coming in. So that being the case, I don't plant anything I can't trim back, and I also don't plant, 20-foot tall banana clumps. That's why I chose Cavendish dwarf bananas, very common type of banana, very good type of banana, beautiful. I mean, look at that. Look at that thing. Now, the bunny turds don't hurt, neither do the worm tea that it's getting. But it's essentially growing in sand with a little bit of organic material fed to it. And so, yeah, Cavendish bananas all along this way. And then occasionally a clump of the Musa taller. And you can see it's already gigantic. I think it's massive. It's competing with the papaya tree at this point, which is saying something. By the way, if we get a hurricane, I'm predicting this papaya tree be gone. She's coming down. But yeah, so we've created two altitudes of bananas here. One is the lower level Cavendish, the other is the Musa, giant Musa, and both have bananas at this point. So we get two altitudes of bananas. Here's the Cavendish banana, looking really good. They grow these little petals off the side on the banana flower, which I always think are super cool. Yeah, imagine loaded with nutrients, everything's just chop and drop. But wasps. So maybe I get a wasp sting on this stream. Yeah, it's really cool. I'm going to dry these. I'm going to start getting into drying them because I found that when you have banana clumps like this, you just start to get so many bananas that it's too many bananas, and you can't probably fit them all in your freezer unless you got that. But I've really started to get into drying them. So we're going to dry all these, and this is the next one that's going to be ripe. I'll do a video when we harvest it and process it, but look at all those bananas. The key thing to remember at this phase of the banana game is water. You want to water your bananas when they're setting fruit, when they've got fruit on them, enough so that they can build that fruit. It's just critically important. In Florida, it gets so arid, it's easy to forget, you know, and they will tolerate a drought, but what gets affected is the quality of the fruit. So the key thing, in my opinion, is if you're in Florida, is to make sure your bananas stay watered. Now, this time of year, probably not that hard to do with no effort, because it's raining all the time. We got hurricanes on all around us all the time, and every day it's raining. But earlier in the year, there's a dry period. It's like drought, so you can get bone dry, and it's easy to forget to water them. So you want to stay on a schedule. I kind of go through every week and make sure that I'm tending to all that stuff every day if possible. Yeah, and finally the Celeste Fig is showing some promise. I don't expect these fig. I bought many different types of fig trees this year, and the Celeste is one that's a very common and well-known closed-end fig. It's a high-quality fruit. People love them. I call it the Tommy Atkins of figs. It's the great tree. But here's the thing with fig trees: they're ficus. They're ficus ultimately, genera ficus or whatever. But they are gonna make it as long as the roots are good. And they get different. They get rust, they get funguses, they get whatever, but they're going to make it through all that stuff, no problem, without much intervention, almost all the time, as long as you got a good root system. And that's why I don't expect a fig tree to look good in the first year. Just don't. I expect it to look like a stick, planted, barely clinging to life, throwing out small amount of leaves and kind of, that kind of thing, and then going dormant again. And while that's happening, all the action is happening under the dirt. So this Celeste Fig is just now starting to show the vigor I know it can do. I'm surprised it's shown it this early, but you can see this new growth goes all the way out to here. That's how you know that it's ready to go, is that you're going to see some long growth spurts on branches. When it's just getting started, it'll kind of just do this stuff, right? Which is like, just grows a couple things, but it doesn't really grow any branch. It just kind of shoots out a little poof of leaves or a small bit of branch. But when they start to get these longer branch growths, that's how you know you're off to the races. So that's a pretty cool development, actually, with that Celeste Fig. Same thing has not happened yet for this, what's it called? White Marseilles, I think is what it's called. Fig tree. Again, it's just doing that thing where it just sends out a couple leaves, but no branch growth really, and I'm just fine with that. It's gonna start going off eventually. I just keep hitting it with the bunny turds and the worm tea, and eventually it pops. Okay, well, thank you for joining me this morning on this live stream. Before I leave, though, I want to show you the hot pepper. I didn't forget about the comment about the hot pepper. Here's my current hot pepper collection of one. I've also got some green peppers growing over there by the chicken coop. There it is. That's a dado hot pepper, which is an incredibly delicious variety of hot pepper, I am told, by reliable sources. And that's a dado hot pepper right there. Almost looks like the size of a jalapeno, kind of. But they're incredibly delicious. Highly sought after hot pepper. You can see this one's got lots of new flowers on it. Now I chose to put the pot right out here in the lawn in the shade, because one thing I know about peppers is they are not going to be loving the Florida furnace of environment here. They're going to do better in a partial sun environment, and that's why I've got it under here. It still gets sun, plenty of sun. I mean, look at the sunlight shine off these leaves, but it also doesn't get killed. So that's the combo we like. The pepper tree, over time, this can produce a lot of peppers, especially if you put it in the right spot. And also in this particular spot, it doesn't get really any salt spray on the leaves, so it's the perfect little zone to grow a pepper or two. Let's look at this though. I always like to check on the compost bin, see how we're doing. Yeah, it's looking good. I probably want to cover that with some leaves. Yesterday's live stream, we saw a snake slither into this. We won't go in too deep, but yeah, not quite yet. These, what I'm doing is letting these leaves, these branches rest. So mango trimmings. Oh, by the way, look at these, all the mango pits I put in there. That's a Tommy Atkins mango tree growing out of the compost. Same here. We've got Tommy Atkins mangoes growing from the compost. I think I'm going to dig them up all around too. Look at them. My compost bin is just going to turn into a giant mango tree thing. You know what? I could probably actually do that. Oh, holy moly. I didn't know. Some of the mangoes fell behind. And I think I might have actually a rather tall one. What I'm going to use these for, by the way, these sprouted mango seeds, is that I'll get them growing in a pot vigorously, and then I will graft on varieties of figs onto this rootstock. The mango seeds themselves, these are monocot type of, I believe they're called monocot seeds, meaning that not all the varieties of mangoes will produce seeds that produce fruit true to the original fruit. So you may get no fruit, you may get some fruit, you may do fine, but you just have no way of knowing, and it's a big investment of time to get nothing. So, and space, because they get pretty big. So the best thing is you get the rootstock that grows well, like this Tommy Atkins. You can see it can even grow out of compost bin. Get that tree as the rootstock, and then graft on like a Hayden, or graft on some other type of mango. All right, well, thanks for joining me. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. If you would like to support the channel, just use the links in the description to get to Amazon. When you go to Amazon, you just click on the links. It'll take you to Amazon, to whatever it says the link is for, but then from there you just search within Amazon, and we get an affiliate fund from that. So that's a cool thing to do. Yeah, Palm Nation, hope everything's going well for you up there. Hunkering down, I'm sure. All right, thanks, and have a great day.